You are surely the only Western leader to have spoken with Xi Jinping in Mandarin at length. Since then, you studied him in great detail. You say about Xi that he means what he says. Now, he says he wants China and Taiwan reunified. You see a potential danger over Taiwan as soon as 2028. Why is that?
The first thing is that Xi Jinping will get his reappointment as General Secretary of the Communist Party in October of 27. That'll be for a record fourth term. Secondly, you have the Taiwanese presidential elections occurring in January of 28. And if the ruling Democratic Progress Party, the DPP, is reappointed, it is conceivable, given its historical pro-independence stance, that Xi Jinping would regard this as a trigger in terms of China's long-established anti-secession law. And the third factor is Xi Jinping's calculus, I should say, of the robustness of President Trump's posture on deterrence by the United States against China over Taiwan. If you put those three factors together, it elevates the risk, which is why we need to be super mindful about the deterrence equation leading into 28.
Well, with the delivery of the first nuclear-powered submarine under the AUKUS deal not due until 2032, Australia could only be peripheral at most to such a conflict. Is that right?
Well, the posture of successive Australian governments over the years, including myself as Prime Minister and Foreign Minister, is that we never publicly speculate on what Australia might or might not do in the eventuality of a Taiwan Straits crisis. That doesn't actually help in the material world. In terms of the arrival of Australian submarines, frankly, that 5-year period will fast come by. And this will be a great addition to the Royal Australian Navy's capabilities set in terms of our ability to maintain Australia's own sovereign interests in the Indo-Pacific as well. When we look, for example, at the expansion of China's own submarine fleet, look, for example, at the fact that China now has some 60 to 75 submarines, of which 15 to 20 are nuclear powered, and a number in addition to that are ballistic missile submarines, that is nuclear armed. The fact that we from time to time receive inbound commentary from various Chinese commentators such as Victor Gao about it being inappropriate for Australia to acquire these capabilities. Frankly, we need to put it into a context, which is China has a massive submarine fleet and it's growing. They are currently at size when compared boat for boat against the size of the US Pacific submarine fleet. And the Chinese surface fleet is already at some 370 boats, larger than the US surface fleet of some 290 operational ships as we stand. So it's important that Australia has its own naval capabilities, given in fact the changes to the strategic and military balance which are occurring within our wider region. Our job's to look after Australia and of course our wider allied interests.
It's been confirmed after Pat Conroy on this programme raised doubts that there will be a rotation of US subs at the Stirling Naval Base in WA into the future. Does that make Stirling a significant potential target for the Chinese military?
Look, I think it's irresponsible for anyone, particularly someone who's previously served as Prime Minister or Foreign Minister or Ambassador to the United States, to comment on the nuclear targeting program of either the Russian Federation or the Chinese. The bottom line is our job as Australia is to ensure that we enhance our own national security over time. We live in a highly volatile region, the Indo-Pacific. We need greater naval capabilities in order to sustain our own national interests. And that's where these assets of ours are important additions to Australia's overall defence capabilities. Obviously, the Chinese system would prefer that we were not heading in that direction. You could see that from the official commentary. But the bottom line is, if we were to listen to everything that Chinese official commentary had said about Australia's defence capabilities, including our alliance with the United States over the last half century, then we'd be doing nothing. Our job is to defend Australia and to look after Australian national interests. This helps in us doing that.
And just briefly, what lessons is China going to draw from US errors in Iran, kind of looping back to where we started about potential danger over Taiwan? looking at Iran, what lessons are they drawing about the US from what's happened there?
Well, there's often a saying within Chinese political circles about the United States, which is whenever the US gets really serious about the China strategic and military and economic challenge, don't worry, our old friend will always come back. And then you ask, well, who's our old friend? And they say, the Middle East, of course. 老朋友中东. And so when they look at Iran, they see that in the context of what happened in the past with Iraq and earlier, of course, with Afghanistan, and against the central defining strategic challenge of the 21st century, which is which power will emerge as the center of the global geopolitical and geoeconomic order over the course of the next half century. The Chinese will look at Iran and say, this has been a useful distraction from our perspective. I think more broadly, they will look at it also and say, what has this done in terms of US magazine depth, the availability of its own ammunition and supplies against future Indo-Pacific contingencies. And they'll also look at the political reaction within the United States, which is one which becomes increasingly exhausted with foreign wars, and particularly ones which the United States itself has initiated. So the Chinese will take, in strategic terms, overall comfort, in my judgment, as an analyst, from what they have seen in terms of US posture over Iran.
You've been one of the most consequential Australian diplomats for years. You are now free of the constraints of being an ambassador. What can you tell us about Donald Trump that you couldn't tell us then?
Well, President Trump is an interesting sort of fellow to deal with. As you know, we had a few exchanges on live global television during Prime Minister Albanese's visit to the US last October. But by and large, if you are focused about the national interest that you wish to advance with the US administration, as we have been with AUKUS, as we have been with critical minerals, as we have been with trade, as we have been with critical technologies, you can make progress because the administration is wider, deeper and broader than the White House itself. And by the way, we've had this important relationship with the United States for more than 100 years. President Trump's term in office will last another 2 years. We need to take a long historical view of this as well.
And just finally, you're from Queensland. Could you have anticipated 30 years ago that Pauline Hanson would be outpolling your own party in government and the opposition coalition?
Well, it's very easy to play the politics of protest. It's very hard to do the grinding business of government, which looks after practical problems of national security, such as you and I have been discussing here this evening, of the economy and growing it, environmental sustainability so that we don't all exhaust and expire the planet through climate change, and delivering basic services for the Australian people, including housing affordability, which has been eating away so badly at people's standard of living over a long period of time. The hard business of government is to come up with practical responses to each of those challenges. The easy business of politics is simply to act as a protest vector and then lace it and spice it with the politics of race. That's what Mrs. Hanson's been doing ever since she emerged in my fair state of Queensland a quarter of a century ago. Her script hasn't changed. But ask this question of yourselves. What single answer does she have to any of the list of problems and challenges which I went through before? Zip is the answer to that.
Kevin Rudd, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Good to be with you.